Hi again, everybody. It's Kevin Canessa coming to you from the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com on this, the 25th day of April in the year 2022. Sure hope you're enjoying your Monday, no matter where it is you are in the country. And you'll forgive me that my voice is a little raspy today. It's either allergies or I'm coming down with something. So my apologies right off the bat for that. As you do every Monday, you welcome me into your home so that I might bring you this week's news. But before I do that, just a quick reminder about Genuine Smiles here in Kearney at 837 Kearney Avenue. This is Dr. Mina Elfar's practice, and he's been here for a while. Has locations in Hackensack and also up in Livingston. And his goal is to make you feel as comfortable and at peace as you can when you go to the dentist's office. And let's face it, you and I go to the dentist, we're lying if we're saying we're not nervous or anxious about whatever's going to go on inside of our mouths. So what Dr. Elfar has done is made it an important part of his practice so that people feel comfortable when they get into that chair, not stressed, not worried, because he treats everybody like they are part of his family. So if you have a fear of the dentist, or if you're just looking for a good dentist, I want you to call Dr. Elfar at 201-991-1055, 201-991-1055. They're at 837 Kearney Avenue. It used to be the Smile Center. And they work on any patients from juveniles up to senior citizens. So if you're looking for that dentist and you're just not so sure that you want to go, don't waste any more time. Call the Genuine Smiles office here in Kearney today. So this has been an interesting week, to say the very least. And coming up in a few weeks is the election in Belleville, which pits Mayor Michael Millham against Steve Rovell, who is a long-time council member on the Township Council in Belleville. So what we did was we split it up. Ron Lear, my colleague of many, many years, interviewed Councilman Rovell, and I was able to sit down with Mayor Millham. And it's a dichotomy of two different styles. One, in Millham, the incumbent, he's ready to go and work and build on his record and to continue doing the work that he's done despite enormous adversity from a small group of people who have tried to discourage him and to bring him down, against a sitting council member who is offering not so much by way of specifics as to what he would do, but more about what he wouldn't do that the current mayor does. So I would like you to, if you get a chance, read the profiles, especially if you're Belleville residents. And in the piece that I wrote about the mayor, he actually told us about something we didn't know, and that was that in 2018, before the election, when he was running as the new guy, even though he wasn't a new guy necessarily because he was on the council in the early 2000s, that there was a couple of political mailers that went out in the mail that were pretty much libelous. And what he ultimately found out was that those mailers were sent out by his opponent and by some of his opponent's cohorts. And he sued for defamation of character on behalf of Naomi DePena, the deputy mayor now and a councilwoman. And there was a settlement out of court with one of the defendants, who was former Mayor Ray Kimball. God rest his soul. He's no longer with us. And the two other defendants who have not settled are Tom Gerolman and Michael Sheldon. And just this past week, a judge, the Sheldon camp, asked for a motion for summary judgment, which in layman's terms means a motion to dismiss the case, and a judge denied that request. So the defamation suit that Millham put out in 2018 on behalf of Naomi and the rest of his cohorts and candidates will continue. We don't know exactly when the case will be heard, but it should be coming soon, and it's being delayed because of the COVID crisis. Obviously, a lot of non-essential cases were not heard over the last 2+ years. But it does appear, based on this, and we've seen the court documents, it will move on. And as part of the profile of the mayor, he says if anybody dares to do this again at the 11th hour for the 2022 election, he's not afraid to sue for defamation. So he certainly fired a shot with that comment, but will be interesting to see what comes out of the Rovell camp over the next 2 weeks before the election happens in early May. All right, let's move on from the mayoral race in Belleville to North Arlington. This is a very interesting situation, and it's one I haven't given much thought about, but many of you have used Airbnb when you go to the shore, when you go to Florida, California, wherever it is you're going, because a lot of times you get some pretty cool deals. You get to live in a really nice house or an apartment, and you don't have to worry about getting a hotel and deposits and all this other crap. So apparently, the borough of North Arlington is going to vote to outlaw the use of those kind of short-term rentals in the borough. So there were some complaints that Airbnb customers caused a significant amount of noise in an apartment building on Ridge Road, and it led to the mayor and council looking into this, and it looks like they're going to completely ban in the borough of North Arlington any landlord or apartment owner from subleasing for a short period of time. Minimum rental in North Arlington is going to be 30 days. So you know, for the most part, that Airbnb would be no good if you were just coming into North Arlington for a visit of a week or two, or 3 even. Now, I see both sides of this. There are no hotels in North Arlington right now. The closest one to the south is in Harrison, and to the north is in Lyndhurst. So Airbnb was very convenient for people who may have relatives in North Arlington but don't have a place to stay necessarily without having to go to a hotel. This is going to necessitate them going, I know it's not far, so, Crimea River, I guess, but to Lyndhurst or to Harrison. So I understand where people would be a little bit upset about that, but I also understand, too, if people are taking advantage of Airbnb and they're making a mess out of apartments and they're causing noise complaints, that becomes a problem. Now, of course, it's not to say that it's just Airbnb people who make noise, okay? So, you got one incident and they're going to ban it. I'm sure there are others as well, but this was the main one that they were discussing and that Ron has in his story. So I don't know where you stand on this. Where do you? Do you know? Maybe make some comments in the comment section below this video. Do you think North Arlington's doing the right thing by banning Airbnb rentals or short-term rentals in the borough of 30 days or less? Make some comments, and maybe we'll share some in next week's edition or on the next week of Observer Live. We'll see what comes of that. Good news for youngsters. For the last 2 years, because of COVID-19, the Kearney Junior Police Academy was canceled, but it's coming back this summer in July and early August. Sergeant Adriano Marks and Jack Grimm, Vanessa Sevillano, and I think Steve Montanino will find his way there because he seems to find his way everywhere. Right, Stevie? I think they are going to all be involved as well. Jack Grimm runs it with Vanessa. Those two are dynamic when it comes to community policing. Adriano is too, but he's in a class by himself. He's the commander. He was the commander of the community-oriented policing unit, which was quote-unquote disbanded during the COVID-19 pandemic. But they're looking to get things back to normal. Chief King and Deputy Chief Scott McPhee have been very, very supportive of the work Adriano does, and they're trying to get this back up and running. So it's for 5th through 7th graders in Kearney. You don't have to go to a Kearney school to take part, though. So if you go to a Catholic school, a private school, or if you're homeschooled, you can also, if you're a parent and you have a child in one of those circumstances, get an application. Those won't be available till June. But the truth of the matter is, it's good to see this coming back. after a 2-year hiatus caused by COVID. I know Lyndhurst is doing theirs again. They did one last year. It was limited, but they're doing one this year too. So anytime there are junior police academies, when we have the information, we will share it with you. But great job from Adriana Marks and Jack and Vanessa for getting this back up and running again. It's a wonderful experience for the 5th through 7th graders who often come away with a greater sense of what it is to be a cop and how difficult it really is, especially in today's world. Our good friend, sticking with the KPD, Captain Tim Wagner, though he wasn't on duty this week, has a blotter for us from a couple of weeks ago. Some interesting stuff there. I hope you will check that out. And, of course, we have an op-ed this week from our friend Jack Satter, who is our Santa around here. He says that Paul LeClaire and Steve Rogers both had some valid points when it comes to term limits, which you may have seen in previous editions of The Observer. They wrote their own op-eds 2 weeks and a week ago, and now Jack chimes in saying that he agrees with them both, which is not something that happens often on the opinion pages of this newspaper. In sports this week, Jason Bernstein has a feature on the Lyndhurst baseball team. He's got an athlete of the week who is also from Lyndhurst. And there is one other sports story, too. But, of course, you know, I am drawing a blank on what it was because I only read it like 2 hours ago. It is the Nutley softball team feature on them. So I hope you'll check those out. And the Lyndhurst baseball team is, of course, coached by Pat O'Teary, whose brother is my friend Vincent O'Teary, the PIO of the Lyndhurst Police Department, and Vinny's son, Vinny, or Vincent, not Junior, they have different middle names, is a senior and on that team. So you'll read all about Vinny's kid in this week's edition of The Observer in the Sports section. Check it out tonight or tomorrow. The town of Harrison had a great event Easter Saturday, the Saturday before Easter, for the kids. It was a tremendous hunt for eggs. A lot of kids were there. It's at the new playground over at the new Little League field. Well, not new, but the recently renovated Little League field. And our friend Larry Bennett, the councilman, was there and sent us some pictures of the kids playing on monkey bars and all that sort of stuff, looking for eggs. So I hope you'll check out that picture. We thank him, of course, for bringing that to us. The Hudson County Prosecutor's Office on Wednesday will be hosting a special candlelight vigil for victims of crime, any victims, domestic violence, any kind of violence. So that takes place at the Fountain at Lincoln Park in Jersey City. It is Wednesday. It's a moving ceremony, I'm sure, and if you want more details and wish to go in support of victims of violence of any kind, it is Wednesday night in Jersey City. And it's a great job out of Esther Suarez putting something like this together. Of course, we have 2 pages of classifieds. So if you need a job, if you're looking for an apartment, you will find it in this week's edition of The Observer. And I have one little in-house item I want to kind of mention to you. A lot of times in my life, when I have needed to get a letter notarized, I haven't known where to turn. And that was long ago, but I know some people who have notaries now. But the point of this is that The Observer's Lisa Fiorenzo, our co-owner, is a notary public now, and if you need to get anything notarized for any reason, you can do it right here. All you got to do is give us a call at 201-991-1600 to set up an appointment for you to come in, and you can get all the paperwork done that you need to get done in just a few moments. So you need something notarized, call Lisa today, 201-991-1600. That's going to do it for this edition of The Observer. I want to thank each and every one of you for logging on and joining me tonight. Don't forget, we'll be back 1 week from tonight with updates from next week's newspaper. And, of course, if something happens during the course of the week, we will join you for that as well. The cherry blossoms are blooming like crazy. I'm wondering if that's why my voice is so Barry White. From the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com, it's Kevin Canessa signing off for now, and I hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Good night, everybody. Have a good rest of the day.